Hello everyone, welcome to eLearnChat, where you always learn something new. I'm joined today by our co-host, the one and only. We've got with us Lesley Price from www.learnappeal.com. Lesley, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm good. Very good. Just getting, got over all the Halloween, got over all the fireworks, and next stop is Christmas.
That sounds good. And I'm Rick Zanotti, and I'm going to be with Lesley in February in London for the Learning Technology show. I'll be working with her in the Learn Appeal booth. Come join us. You've got to come join us. Take a look at what Learn Appeal does. You will be very surprised at what a nice organization they are and the kind of work that they're doing. So, Lesley, that's going to be a fun trip.
Oh, we're all really looking forward. Really looking forward to it. I've told the organisers, and I've also told Colin Steed, so you will get to meet the Emma Peel, as you call her,
the other Avenger,
along with the Mr. Steed.
Yes, the other Avenger. This is going to be great.
Yes.
And today we've got a great
no black
guest.
cat suit. I'm sorry.
No, you got to wear the cat suit. Anyway, today we've got a great guest. We've got Yudit Buitrago coming to us from Sydney, Australia. She's a learning consultant. Here we go. And we are back. And, there she is in that center position of power. Yudit, how are you today?
I'm very good. Thank you, Rick. Hi, Lesley. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and today you came to our first. We have new music on our intro, which is almost Scottish sounding. That's what we thought. So anyway,
oh no,
that's in your honor, my dear. Yudit,
you. Here.
Oh, we're glad you could come. And coincidentally, for those who don't know, Yudit was born in Argentina, and so was I. And so a lot of people don't know that. I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people go, "You were born where?" So that's a coincidence. And she was born near the town where my father was born. So it's sort of interesting, out in one of the provinces. So it's a small world. It's a very small world. And now you have traveled around the world. You've gone from Argentina. You even said you went to Missoula, Montana. Nobody goes to Missoula, Montana. So you were there. You went to Europe, and you wound up, you got married, have kids, and you live in Australia, Sydney now.
I know. Well, Missoula, Montana is a beautiful place, and I encourage more people to actually go. But yes, after I was born in Argentina, and after graduating, I went to Missoula to get my master's degree, and I was there for 3 years. Beautiful place, and I really loved it. Had a wonderful experience, and I finished not only with a title but also with a husband. So that was also the reason for my many travelers. So I met Chris, who we later got married, and he is German. So basically we moved to Europe and lived there for a few years, worked across Eastern Europe, and then after that decided to come to Sydney, where I've been for a number of years now.
That's great.
So I have gone around a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But as I mentioned to you before, I haven't finished. I'd love to still travel more.
Traveling is fun.
Now,
beautiful. Lesley, she's been around the world too. She's been all over the place.
All over, yeah.
All over.
I was actually in Australia earlier on this year. My son works for Deloitte, and he had a contract in Australia in between Adelaide and Canberra, and so I went to Adelaide, then I went to Canberra, and then I went on to see a girl that's been one of my very best friends for many, many, many years, and I actually call her my big sister. I don't have a big sister, so she is my adopted big sister.
That's Helen
Blunden,
right?
So did you get to Sydney?
And that's Helen Blunden. Do you know Helen Blunden?
I didn't get to Sydney, but I do actually have family in Sydney, and as Scots travel all over the world, so Rick's then saying earlier on before the show started about him being in New York, I've got family who live on Long Island, and and their children, or their daughter, lives on Manhattan Island, just off Madison Avenue, and my children have both been out to stay with them. So even though we are second cousins, however many times removed, we're family.
Yes. Well, if you come to Sydney, Sydney is, although we are very far from almost everything, it's just an incredible experience. Like, you can be sitting on a bus and you have 27 different languages on the bus, and you can hear them, and it's just very multicultural, and the experience is incredible. And as a matter of fact, I even joke that, I've been here almost 15 years, and I haven't met many real Aussies. Most of the people I meet are first generation, second generation. They've just arrived. So it's hard to get a real Aussie, especially if you're in the middle, living in Sydney.
That's funny. So what do you do as a learning consultant?
Well, I do many things. So I've been in learning and development for many, many years now. And when I came to Australia, I decided to focus in this area. Before, I was in Europe working for KPMG. I was a management consultant, and I worked across quite different areas within human resources. So I came here, and I decided to focus on the training side because it's one of the areas I'm most passionate about. So I worked for 10 years in a very large talent management company, looking after, first as a learning consultant and then looking after the whole learning function. And 4 years ago, I stepped out of a global corporate role to basically do what I've been dreaming for a long time, and that is start my own business. So I opened a consulting business in the area of learning, and what I basically do with clients now is act a bit as an extension to their internal L&D teams. So I go in and I support them in everything from strategy to operations to building of programs. I often help them with project management. And as part of a lot of the building of content that I do, I design e-learning. And over the years, I've gotten more and more into the creation of e-learning and different types of online content.
That's really good.
So I've been doing that on my own for the last 4 years, and it's been great. It's been really, really good. It's a bit scary in the beginning, stepping out of the security of a large corporate, but never looked back. It's been a great experience.
So what do you see as...
It's interesting that you say that you get involved with operations, and you also get involved with strategy, and you also do project management. Because, when we've talked with, some guests we talk with are very L&D focused, but others have a much more general approach. And that's how I got involved. And what I describe myself very often is as a translator. So when I first started working in e-learning back in before the internet was born, and I set up our first learning management system, virtual learning environment, back in 1998, and from then on, but to even implement a learning management system back then, you had to get senior management on board. You had to get the IT team on board. You had to get I was involved in community education, so I had to get the lecturers on board. And I became a translator. And what you're describing to me is interesting, because that seems to be the role that you're kind of talking about, that you're doing.
Yes. And you learn over the years, you have to know a little bit of everything. You start with the strategy, the programs. I help with the comms. I help with marketing. I help with implementation. Very rarely, do you just stay with a small piece of a project? And because I've been really lucky to have been exposed to everything, as I said, it's been many years, and I've I've done everything in the area of learning, I can actually step into different roles. And I think this is one of the things that has helped me the most. There are a lot of people nowadays getting very specialized, but I find it harder to find people, unless you've been there a while, who can oversee the entire thing. It's, but on the other hand, it's also good, because then I can see the overall project, but then I say, okay, we need somebody who can specifically do this, we need to get help in this area, and then we put together the team with more specialist skills. But yes, and I also find that I go into organizations and help L&D teams who have more younger consultants and more inexperienced, and sometimes the L&D director is really busy, so I a little bit step in and not only help with the project, but also work with the teams and coach them and guide them, and usually my projects tend to be very big, so it comes to a point where they are literally working directly with me in terms of what do I do now, and so interesting. It never gets boring. There's never a boring day in our work. Yes.
No, I think I really do think it's that learning and development people need to have a wide range of skills. Even if they don't practice them every day, they need to understand them, especially when it comes down to implementation of learning solutions.
Yes, and nowadays with the coming of technology, oh my God, like I learn every day. The learning curve is enormous. Every single day there's something new out there, and I'm always sometimes a little bit nervous saying, oh, what am I missing? What am I missing? What should I be learning, or what do I need to know? And but it's there's enormous opportunity of growth and going into other areas when you're in learning. Well,
I guess it's my turn.
Hi, Rick.
Lesley was pondering, I think. Anyway, no, that's really that's really good. How did you initially? Well, let me take it a step back. When you graduated from school, you got your master's. What was that in?
So both my BA and my master's is in communications.
Communications, so, interesting.
Communication studies, yeah. And my master's, I focused on organizational communications and intercultural, which is an area I'm very passionate about too.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's interesting.
So
it's
I
kind of a natural.
I would end up in learning, basically. Yeah.
It's kind of a natural flow right into training and working in that universal translator role, because you're right, it is like a universal translator. You deal with so many different people, so many needs within a company.
Yes.
And what kind of companies do you like to work with? You work with KPMG, which is a consulting firm, and that
was my first company. Yes, I was an external consultant with them. Okay. Yes, you mean as clients?
Yeah, as clients. What kind of work did you like doing with them? Because they see a lot of different clients too.
I do. Well, with KPMG it was really interesting because I was working in Bulgaria, in Sofia, in Eastern Europe. So and it was some years ago, and there was massive amounts of interest in that area, and a lot of money and a lot of support coming from the European Union to help companies. There was a lot of privatizations and acquisitions and taking those old more communist structures and they were being bought out and changed. So I worked on really large change management projects from restructuring and creating new functions, and of course as part of all of that and looking at the people side, a lot of that came with training. So you had to train new processes, new skills, change the mindset of people. That was probably the biggest part. How do you work with the same employees but in a new environment? So that's how I sort of came into L&D, and it was really fascinating. I've worked across, apart from Bulgaria, we had projects in Yugoslavia. We worked with Greece. We worked with Romania. So really interesting times for a person to get new skills and experience. by the time I got to Australia and I saw the working environment here, everything was easy after having been over there doing those projects. Yeah.
Well, you said something that we don't talk about much on this show. You know, we've done close to 300 shows, and you said two words that actually we've almost never talked on, and that's change management. And it's funny because that's very, very important and totally ignored more often than not. What's your experience with that been? Because a lot of times change happens, nobody cares, it just gets thrown at people, and they either adapt or they have problems. But change management's important when you're trying to sell a solution, you're trying to sell a new approach or something to make things different. What do you think about the role of change management in an L&D environment?
I think L&D is all about change management. We go in, it's about changing skills, we're upgrading skills, it's about changing mentality and mindset, knowing we're building people's resilience, we're building people's emotional strength when they're, learning new skills and you're teaching even a simple sales program that later they have to go out there and do it and apply. So there's a lot of change management. I've been involved in every single change project in any organization as at the heart of the change project. So you have on one side the learning and on another side the communication strategy, which is critical. So I think as L&D professionals, we are change professionals. We help organizations go through change. It's really important.
It's interesting. It's interesting that you say that, because my initial degree, when I studied, in the UK, we don't talk about going to school. Going to school is what you do between when you're 5 and you're like 17 or 18. Afterwards, you go to university. So when I went to university, I studied applied business economics and marketing. So marketing was what I wanted to do. And then I got into teaching purely by accident in a community college, because they were looking for somebody who had practical industry experience. And then during my career, I've actually got, believe it or not, I'm actually a certified change management practitioner. I have qualifications in change manation.
Well,
because that was one of the things that I found that was really, I knew about it, but I didn't know all the ins and outs and all the different skills that you really need to be able to deliver that. Although I was doing it, if you understand, I didn't know the background behind it. So I went and studied change management. So for my sins, I could put letters after my name saying I'm a qualified chartered change management practitioner.
Well, very handy in today's world. Very handy. I think it's next to communication is one of the most critical skills. Being flexible, being adaptable, and not only to work on yourself, but to help others go through that process. It's really important.
Yeah. I totally agree. Yes. And another thing I've always advocated in learning and development is that we need to learn an awful lot from the marketing people within the organizations, because very often in learning, people are L&D practitioners or trainers, and they talk in the language of learning. So they talk about learners, whereas the rest of the organization talk about staff or employees or colleagues, but not the people in L&D. Absolutely. So it's a different kind of language. So again, communication skills, I think you're absolutely right. Communication skills are absolutely critical, and not for delivering the learning so much in the classroom, but for communicating what you're trying to get across to other people in the organization so you get buy-in.
And also in terms of change, I don't know your experience, but mine over the years, I've had to continuously readapt and reinvent myself, and there's L&D is such a broad field, and so even being able to yourself go through the process of change and say, okay, I need to learn new skills. I need to, I remember the time where I didn't know what an LMS was. I had to go out and learn it. I didn't know, learn new authoring tools. How do you use them? How do you build them? Nowadays, there's so many applications every single day. I'm thinking, oh, can I do this? And that's part of personal change and having that flexibility. And if you don't have it, it's teaching it to yourself.
Now, Yudit, you brought some stuff to share with us. Do you want to share your screen?
I did. Sure. So you have there my title, Briefboards, which is the name of a company, a startup that I have at the moment, or actually it's a project in the making. My consulting business, by the way, Rick, is called Random Thoughts. Just thought I'd mention that. And comes back to a little bit what Lesley said. It's called Random Thoughts because, one of the things that I do, or I feel I do as a consultant, is take all these ideas and take all these, can we do this? What about this? All these random thoughts, and I turn them into a learning solution. We build something that can be, implementable and bring to life those ideas. So Briefboard came out of the process of creating e-learning in my consulting job. So when I stepped out of that corporate role and I started my journey into being a freelance consultant, one of my first projects was helping my previous company. They actually hired me back to help them project manage and deliver a very large digital transformation project. So I found myself looking at strategy, helping them implement a platform, but as part of this also creating a very large library of e-learning content. Now, this had been my first experience as an e-learning developer and designer. I had never done it before. So, but I thought, okay, how hard can it be? I'm going to give it a go. And so I partnered with a colleague and a friend for many years who's a Storyline developer. At that time, he was using Storyline. And we started building this library of content. And it was about a 1.5-year project, and by the end of that year, I had come to a point where I thought whether I could do this or not anymore. I found the design part very engaging, very motivating, but when it came to review cycles and when it came to getting feedback from my SMEs on every one of these projects, it was extremely frustrating because there was nothing. Everything was done in a manual way. So I found myself with approximately 20 e-learning modules, online assessments, pieces of content. Each one had a number of SMEs collaborating on it. And I don't know if I should be saying this on camera, but literally almost in tears at the end, thinking, oh my God, I'm getting all these emails, I'm getting all this feedback through one email attachment. Then you have to consolidate all that information. You have to, it was just crazy. So after several months of work, I went back home to Argentina, and I was a little bit getting it out of my system and talking to my brother. And I'm just very lucky that he is a software developer. So my brother says to me, well, what if I build you something that can help you with your review cycles and can help you work with your clients and collaborate? And that is when Briefboards was basically born as an idea. So Briefboards is a messaging and a revision application that helps e-learning consultants and helps their clients review e-learning content together, and it helps the process of creating e-learning content. So that's how it started. So I've been working on this application for the last 2 years. We have brought it to market very recently. We started in June, a bit more an aggressive marketing around it and sharing it The States, for example, is a big market for me. So we've put a lot of efforts at the moment on online marketing and social media with the States. And yes, it's a small application at the moment. It's growing every day. But my goal with it is really to help our e-learning community, and the same way it has helped me. I use it all the time with my clients, and it has really changed our lives.
That's great. Were you going to show some of that, or?
Yes. Can I, if I can?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Sure, that'd be great.
Okay. So how do I do this? Let me share my screen there.
Yeah, share your screen, and that should get you up and running. Let's see.
Okay.
There you go.
Tell me if you can see it.
There you are. Now we see it.
You see it? Okay.
Yes.
So let me just show you this. This is just the overall concept, so you get an idea of what the application does. So it's very easy to use, and I just want to say that we built something because 4 years ago, when I started, as I said, I started using Storyline. At that time, Storyline 3 hadn't come out. It was Storyline 2. It had no revision functionality, and we looked for months at what could we use to help us review online content and communicate through the review cycles. There are many applications in other areas, for example, in marketing and IT that are available, but none of them actually worked with e-learning content. So I went and I was talking to my client and to my SMEs, and I said, well, what would you need? What would you like? And the response basically was, I'd love to just launch a course, send me a link. I want to launch the course, and I want to be able to go through it. And when I see something I want, as a change, or I see something that there's a mistake, I want to be able to just click on it, leave you some feedback, maybe add an attachment, and that's it. It's very simple, fast, because we don't have a lot of time. Oh, and the second thing they wanted to do is be able to see what the other people in the team were actually reviewing and saying. So this is the essence of how Briefboards works. So an e-learning designer, you create your content on your preferred authoring tool. At the moment, Briefboard connects with 4 of the major tools on the market. It connects with Storyline, with Lectora, with Captivate, and with iSpring. So the e-learning developer creates the content. When they're ready to have that first review cycle, they connect our board to it, and then they simply publish the course. They put it on their LMS, or they put it on their server, and they share with the team. The team can come in and then can use our board to review. And I'll show you in a minute how that looks like. But very simple. You don't have to upload your content to any third-party provider. You work as you normally do, with the only exception that before publishing your course, you simply connect the board. So extremely easy. Works within the workflow of what you normally do. Nothing new to learn. Very simple application. Now, in terms of how it works, I'm just going to go now here and just open a demo project. This is the back end, but let me just open this demo. So after you connect our board and you send a link to your clients, what basically happens is that your clients see on one side their course, and on the other side our board here. This has I've just have some demo comments on there. You can open and you can close the board. Rick, can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So Yep. So there are 3 buttons here. The bottom one shows you who's on your review team, and the top one is a marker tool. So all you basically do is you click on it. You click wherever it is. Let's say you want to replace this image. Click on there, and you can say replace this image, and you send it. When you send it, your comment goes on the board up here. See, number 17. Everybody who's part of this board can see that. They can go in, and then this functions as a chat. Assume there's another person here. They can say, okay, send another image. So you can basically have a live conversation with your team while you're reviewing this course. So that's one thing. So it allows you for on-screen markup. You can also add attachments. Let's say go in here, see image attached, and when you go in here, it allows you, it opens another program that allows you to select your files and add your attachment. Your attachment will appear down here next to the clip, the little clip. And again, it's on the board. Now, I don't know how other people do it, but when I'm reviewing with my clients, I tend to get quite a lot of comments, especially in the earlier review cycle. So if you have 3 or 4 reviewers, you know, sometimes you might get 30, 40, 50, 60 comments. So finding all of those comments in you know, and where they are on every slide can get very tricky. So what we've implemented is a double navigation tip that allows you to find the information. So basically, when you are in the board, if you click on a comment, well, let me go somewhere where it takes you straight into that slide in the course where that comment is located. So I can immediately see my comment is here. So if I find one that isn't, it takes me. And when I'm on the course, if I click on it, it takes me to the comment on the board. So you can immediately, you can navigate through the course or you can navigate through the board. See?
I like that. That's very straightforward. I like that.
Yes, absolutely. And then we've added the extra functionality of this. See this little green line here next to comment 14 here on the top? So that basically tells me that a comment has been left inside a layer. So you can leave comments on layers, interactive elements, on your menu, on your player, your buttons. And if I click on it, it not only takes me to the slide, but it opens the layer where that comment is located. So if I close this, my comment is hidden behind this, you know, the slide here. So if I click on it, I can see my 2 comments here. And then they're highlighted on the board. So no, you know, nothing gets lost. All information gets consolidated in one place, and all your attachments are in one place. And basically, all your clients need is a link to the course, and they can go through it and review. So the initial prototype had basically what I just showed you, and then what we've added later on, based on clients' requests, is a little bit of a to-do list. So we have on the top here an inbox, a working list, and a done list. So this gives the team a bit of visibility in terms of how the requests for changes have been progressing. So for example, the way I work with my clients is I send them a list, the link to the course with an empty board. All my SMEs go in there, they leave all the comments, then I review them. The comments that I have understood, if somebody, and I have all the information I need to action, I open it up, and I can go down here on the bottom right and click on this button, and it moves that comment to the working folder. So my clients can start understanding and seeing, having visibility on what things are being actioned at the moment. When I'm done with it, I go back and I move it to the done. It's on the done list. Anything that's still in the inbox means that needs further clarification, or I'm waiting on information, and we can use it to discuss back and forth. By the time I get to the done list and everything's on the done list, then I'm ready to republish the course and send them a new link. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, it looks very sensible.
Yes,
really
and
easy,
again,
easy to use as well.
Absolutely, and for the reviewers, in my case, most of the times people who participate as reviewers on my projects are quite senior people. They have, they've been around and they're very busy. So the last thing for me is to say, okay, go and take screenshots of your course, put them on a Word document, cut and paste this. They don't have time. We've done a lot of testing on how much time you can save with this, and a 30-minute course that could take you half a day sometimes to review it in the very early cycles. We've brought this down to an hour and a half maximum, even less. So it's really, really fast.
Well, I also see this as a pretty good tool for even the development team to work together on developing something.
Yes, absolutely. So this is how we do. So the initial review cycles, if I go to the back end, let me show you, I can show you just a client I have at the moment. So this is an interviewing skills course that we're working on at the moment. And version 1 and 2 is just with my internal development team. So if I click on it and I look, I can see. So Ezequiel is the person I work with. He's my developer. So you can see that for this first review cycle, it's only us. Number 2, it's only us. And then when we're ready for the first client review, we've added some other people on here. So that is from the client side. We've added CS collaborators, you can see in the roles. So each one, this allows me to see, for example, at the moment, we've gone through 2 internal rounds plus 1 client review. We will soon set up the second client review, so you can keep track of how many rounds of revisions you've done, who's looking, who's been part of that team. It tells you a lot of details, where that content sits. And this is really important, and I'll tell you in a minute how to connect our boards, but our board connects in a way that if you move your content to another server or another place, you've loaded it somewhere else, the content moves with you. So you never lose feedback. You never lose information. So it becomes really, really handy. And how do you actually connect our board? That's also the beauty of this system. Once you've created your cycle, every cycle has a unique code. I click down here. It gives me, just a JavaScript code here. And all you have to do is you click this button that says copy to clipboard, and then you go to your authoring tool and you embed it on your first slide in your course. That's all you do. The moment you publish your course and you load it and you open it, that code turns into the board. So literally, if you can copy and paste, you can use this tool as a developer. That's all you need to do. And with JavaScript, well, it depends a little bit on the authoring tool that you use. But for example, in Storyline, you just add it as a trigger. And I think in Captivate, it's called an action. So you add it as a trigger, you paste our code. And then when you're done with all your reviews, all you have to do is open the course, go to your first slide and delete the trigger, and you're done. That board disappears. Now it disappears from that link, but it doesn't disappear from the system. So if by any chance you need to recover that board and go back and find it, you will have it. It never disappears from here, what I'm showing you now.
Now, are the boards cloud-based?
Everything is cloud-based.
Okay.
Everything is cloud-based. You go up here in the People tab, and this from here you invite you invite people to your workspace. Literally, one button. You enter their email address, and you decide which role, if you want them to be just a collaborator or an author. So the back end of what they see is a little bit different based on your role, and that's it. And you invite them to your workspace, and then you can connect them to your project. People only see what they have been associated to. That helps a lot with the security around the projects. And so you can have as many people on your workspace, but they will only see the project you've linked them to. And there we go.
That's great.
So we have a lot of features that we'd like to add to this. Every time over the last year, I've talked to many clients, and I'm keeping a wish list of features. So slowly we'd like to we're continuing to implement. But already as a basic tool, it's really helped me tremendously, and it's helping a lot of my clients, and to collaborate, to discuss, to share content, and most importantly, the markup features. You can go into every single detail and leave feedback.
No, it seems really good. What I like about it is it's what I would describe as being KISS, keep it simple.
Yes, and again, the features that we're trying to bring are a lot more on the back end for the developer, but the clients don't want anything else. I've asked, what else would you like on here? And with exception of maybe expanding a little bit the markup feature, so for example, to be able to maybe, highlights or do a bit more interactive stuff or personalize a little bit more that the application, the majority don't want anything else. They don't have time for anything else.
I can understand that.
Yeah, but on the project, on the back end, there are a few things. So initially this was a developer tool, but we are getting more and more requests from people who actually project manage e-learning projects, and they would like a few more features in the back end related to that project management side. So things that can also link to financials, to more reporting, controlling the amount of cycles you can have, because sometimes you negotiate in a proposal with a client certain amount of cycles, but then your development team might add a few more in rounds of reviews, and so that gets more expensive. So we're looking into the back end to help that project managers too.
I think she needs to stop sharing her screen. That's the problem. That's why we're getting lots of the same image.
Oh, I've stopped. What do I do? Stop sharing.
There you go.
That's it.
Oh, I'm sorry. There you go. I got so excited. I get very passionate when I'm talking about.
You've got to love technology.
Oh, so sorry about that. Yes.
No, that's quite good. That's very interesting. Actually, I've seen a lot of the other review tools, and I haven't liked any of them. This is very interesting. I find it actually quite interesting. I'll probably be talking to you soon about this, because I can see some real uses for not only the external people but also internal teams, both.
Yes, and we are trying to create. It's an agnostic tool. Most teams will at some point or another have a need to use a lot of authoring tools. So, so at the moment, as I said, it connects with all four, and you can also build a process with all four. Because I often get a client who has maybe an older course built in one authoring tool, and they want me to now update it and build it in the new version. So you can start reviewing the old course with one version, and then the second cycle you already review it in the new one, and it's all done in the same place. So that's really good too.
And that's the four tools we use, so we know them well.
Oh, okay. Okay.
That's exactly the four we use, and we know.
And we could customize to others, yeah.
That's great. But
at the moment, so far, we haven't had any other requests. Everybody that we're talking to uses one of these four tools, so that's where we are. But it's a very flexible technology. It can be adapted to anything, basically.
That's great. Well, in the show notes, we will put the information on how to get the tools, how to talk to you and communicate. So we'll have links to all of that. And we'll also probably take the video part that you shared and make that a separate video. So we'll have two videos out for you. So we'll send you the links.
Oh, sorry, should have done it a little bit better.
No, that was good. It was good.
Okay. Yes, no worries. But there is more information on the website. There's another video. I've created quite a large knowledge center, help center, so there's a lot of information there. We've also connected to Intercom, so we have a live messaging system there, and if any question, I'm immediately responding, and I get immediately responding and trying to help. So just connect and reach out.
That sounds great. Well, we are at the end of our time. Actually, we were and 15 minutes ago, but we always go on. So
I'm so sorry. It's been great.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you
really
for
interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, and Lesley, I'll see you next week. And for all you people watching, please subscribe, give us feedback, and go visit Yudit's website. It's really interesting. And so again, we'll have links for everything on the show notes, and we will be in touch with you. And thanks for coming on. We appreciate you joining us and sharing. And next time you come back from Argentina, send us a Milanesa inside joke.
I will. Well, thank you. It's been really lovely. And maybe I can join you next year again and give you some further updates in a few months.
Yeah. Always welcome.
Sounds great. And good luck in London in the conference.
Thanks. We're looking forward to it. That'll be fun. Well, we'll see you all next week on eLearnChat. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.